Today, we delve into one of the most harrowing cases of neglect in recent history, a story that shocked a nation and raised profound questions about responsibility and care. This is the tragic tale of Lacey Fletcher. To the outside world, the Fletchers seemed like a quiet, respectable family. Her father, Clay, was a prominent figure in the local community, even serving as an alderman. Her mother, Sheila, worked with various civic organisations, but behind closed doors, their only daughter, Lacey, was living through a slow-motion nightmare, one that would only come to light after her death. Lacey was diagnosed with social anxiety and severe autism spectrum disorder, which gradually caused her to withdraw from the world. She had once been a bright, friendly girl. She was a bat and twirler. She played sports, but over the years, she stopped going to school, stopped seeing doctors, and eventually stopped being seen in public altogether. As Lacey's condition worsened, she became entirely dependent on her parents for care, but instead of receiving help, she was abandoned in the very home where she should have been safest. On January 3, 2022, a 911 call was placed from the Fletcher residence. First responders arrived and found something they would never forget. Lacey, 36 years old, was found dead, sunken into a hole in the living room couch, partially naked and covered in her own bodily waste. She weighed just 96 pounds. She had been in that same position for an estimated 12 years. The autopsy revealed a horrifying list of injuries. Ulcers so deep they reached down to the bone, severe malnutrition, and signs of chronic, untreated infections. Her face was filled with fear, her body fused to the fabric of the couch. She had essentially melted into the furniture. Authorities determined the cause of death was medical neglect, specifically due to starvation, immobility, and untreated infections, a condition that took years, not days, to develop. During interviews, her parents claimed Lacey had refused to leave the couch and they respected her wishes, but respecting someone's autonomy doesn't mean watching them die slowly while you do nothing. The coroner didn't hesitate. This wasn't just neglect, it was torture. It took months of public pressure before charges were filed. In May 2022, Clay and Sheila Fletcher were indicted for second-degree murder. Their bond was set at $300,000 each, and they quickly bailed out. The horror of this case goes far beyond what was seen at the scene. It raised uncomfortable questions. How could someone in such a small town be forgotten so completely? How did no one check on her? Why were there no interventions from the state, schools, doctors, or neighbours? Lacey was failed by a system that's supposed to protect the vulnerable, but even more painfully, she was failed by the very people who were supposed to love her. The most chilling detail, there were signs of neglect all around, visible for years. The Fletchers stopped taking Lacey to the doctor. They never applied for any home care services. They didn't reach out to extended family. It's as if they decided to let her waste away, silently, slowly, and alone. In court documents, it was revealed that Lacey had not seen a physician in at least 20 years, not even once, and while her parents claimed that she had refused help, medical experts made it clear her condition made her unable to make informed decisions. This wasn't about respecting autonomy, it was about evading responsibility. And yet, the community response was mixed. Some defended the parents, calling them overwhelmed. Others pointed out that overwhelmed isn't an excuse for watching a child rot to death. They had money, they had resources, they made a choice. Second-degree murder carries a mandatory life sentence in Louisiana. In a Louisiana courtroom, Clay and Sheila Fletcher, Lacey's parents, were sentenced to 40 years in prison after pleading no contest to manslaughter. Of that sentence, 20 years were suspended, and they'll face 5 years of supervised probation once released. The court heard graphic, heartbreaking details of how their daughter was left to waste away on a filthy couch for over a decade, malnourished, paralysed, and ignored. Medical experts described it as one of the worst cases of neglect they'd ever seen. Judge Catherine Jones called the death completely preventable, condemning the Fletchers for choosing the path of least resistance, while their daughter slowly died in the home. The verdict sent a clear message: neglect is not just failure, it's criminal. And now, The people who turned away from their daughter's suffering will spend decades behind bars because of it. Advocates for disability rights and mental health have called Lacey's death a turning point, a wake-up call for systemic change. There are now renewed calls for better welfare checks, mandatory reporting laws, and accountability for caregivers. Lacey Fletcher's story is not just a tale of horror. It's a story of silence, of how someone can slip through the cracks when no one is paying attention. But most of all, it's a story of betrayal, not by strangers, but by the people who should have protected her the most. Let her story remind us, real monsters don't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes they sit in the same room and do nothing.